Okay, so it's 7:30 on a snowy, slushy night, 13 February, and in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law. Be advised that the meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel, probably be available sometime tomorrow, February 14th. If anyone joins us, we will bring you into the Zoom meeting, and if you have any questions, feel free to use the raise the hand feature or just go ahead and ask to be identified. Currently, there are no members of the public with us, nor is there a member of the public online, so we will have no public comment. And our first item of business is to approve our meeting minutes from 16 January. Once again, William, thank you for doing those. I looked at them. I saw a couple minor typos and misspellings, and I've given William those comments, and hopefully he can correct those. If we'd like to take a moment to review the meeting minutes, if you haven't currently done so. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any comments, any changes proposed? If not, I'll go ahead and ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Did not see any correspondence when I went by the town hall. Current business, the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee, they made a presentation to the select board last week. The project's a pretty expensive one. We're looking at $22 million. I'm not quite certain as to how the project got so much larger than what we had envisioned when we were working on the statement of work. I went back and looked at the meeting minutes from our meetings where we were discussing the project and the request, the proposal for architectural services. And we were significantly lower than what the actual square footage of the new addition turned out to be. And a part of it was the select board did add a basement level for the purpose of having PAC with the space, and not sure how PAC feels about that. They have reviewed the plans, and you know, so we'll see how this goes. I made a case after the presentation by the architect last week that the project is way out of bounds in terms of size, the number of employees that will go into the space using General Services Administration standards. Really didn't get much response back from the select board in regards to those comments. It did get posted to the Facebook page for the town this past week, and I don't know if I've seen any favorable comments. There were about 100 comments that almost were all posted within 48 hours of when it went live on the Lunenburg Facebook page, and none of them were in favor of the project. I think that one of the things that I'm concerned about is my comments in opposition to the project. And while I'm sitting on the committee as kind of a ad hoc member of the committee, I want to be careful not to misrepresent the commission with my comments. So because if that's the case, then what I want to do is that I want to qualify my comments in opposition to the project to be one of a private individual versus the chair of the APDC. The one thing that has me concerned is that we need to have some work done on both of these buildings. Now, fortunately, the two projects that are currently underway, the chimney project, which is also a roof replacement for town hall, is going to take care of some of the most pressing needs at town hall exterior wise. Interior does nothing for town hall, and that's bad for the employees that have to work over there. There's definitely a need for some reorganization of interior space for town employees. For this building, you know, the current project of replacing damaged slate and repairing the gutters and the exterior repairs, which has been awarded, but no work has started because of the weather, really takes care of the most pressing pieces for this building. You know, so from that standpoint, if nothing happens, you know, if the famous do nothing option kicks in and the town doesn't approve the $22 million project at town meeting in May, we still have some things happening to this building this building and town hall that are positive in terms of maintaining them. You know, the windows would be replaced with the project that's been proposed at $22 million. But I think the windows, as we have discussed in the past, really aren't as critically needed as what has been portrayed by the town. Certainly, we would benefit from new storm windows or some exterior protection from the weather for these windows. So my fear with the project moving forward as it currently is that it won't be approved. You know, so then we're in a position where nothing happens to two very historic buildings in the town. That's tempered by the fact that we have two ongoing projects that are good for these two buildings. I wish there was a way that we could change the current plans, reduce them in size and scope, so that we could get to the May meeting and have something that the town would truly support. But I don't think that's going to happen. So that's kind of where I see the project. What I want to know from the three of you is how you feel about the project and what you think that we might state in terms of an APDC position versus just me as a private individual. As a private individual, I think the project is way oversized and way over cost compared to what we had originally discussed. And because of that, nothing's going to happen. That's my fear. So, any comments? I'll start with William, and then we'll work our back way up. So, William, any thoughts?
I am also under the impression that I hope the town is gonna have a great taste for a large scale project like that. I do hope that, and I haven't really dug into what the architect is providing, but part of me hopes that they have a couple adults, like, you know, we can do this building for this much and kind of have a piecemeal where, you know, if we can't all come to an agreement of a $22 million project, maybe there's a couple of things we can tie in to create a $5 million project to settle some of the more urgent needs of town. I just hope that maybe is in phase 2 of the planning process, but
Unfortunately, that's not the way we're headed.
it's not.
There are all alternatives that have been identified. And those alternatives deal with the parking lot and adding solar at the parking lot, which would be down where the 30 school or the old primary school would be located. But none of the plans, nor I believe the warrant, we're going to draft the language of the warrant at our meeting next Wednesday. But there has been no discussion at all about, you know, sizing the project in bits and pieces that might be an add alt, you know, when it goes out for bid. So that's, and that is one of the ways that, you know, we could perhaps, you know, manage this. So Nathan.
Yeah, so well, what I haven't heard you say is that there's anything deleterious, specifically deleterious about this project regarding historical preservation in Lunenburg, you know, or, you know, protecting the Ritter building in the town hall. So, I mean, you can have your personal opinion about it, which is fine. And the town, you know, it's gonna have to get voted on, so the town will have its opinion. But to the extent that historic, you know, architectural preservation district is concerned, I think a project which makes an investment in planning the town's future inclusive of these historical buildings in a way that makes the historical buildings part of the functioning future of the town is a good recipe for preserving the buildings. And missing these opportunities is a recipe for a situation where down the road, these buildings get knocked down and are not included in whatever that future is. So I think it's a great opportunity for the town to solve its other office space problem, modernization problems and whatnot, including as they have, the key historic buildings of the town. And we've had a number of people representing different committees involved in that process. And it seems that the majority of those folks think it is good enough to move forward to town meeting with. Now, will it pass? Will it won't pass? I don't know, but I have some level of confidence in the group of people that they put together have made some good decisions, and I think they should present it to the town and let them make some decisions. And personally, I hope it passes, because as a member of the Architectural Preservation District, I think it's no project's perfect, and certainly, how many government building projects are perfect? Not so many.
Everyone out there.
Everyone you've done. Okay, well, we gotta get you in on this one. But I think if it's pretty good and it meets the needs of the school and the other departments that are relying on a solution to this, that it's great that they've had the thoughtfulness, which, they were directed to by our master plan and the commissioning of the building reuse committee and the village district bylaw. I think it's good they're making good on those commitments and coming up with a solution that has historic preservation and preservation of the identity of town center as an important feature. So I think to not support it, certainly supporting as a member of the Architectural Preservation District Committee at this point, given the general consensus, as I understand it, on your committee, otherwise it wouldn't be moving to town meeting. I think it's a no-brainer for the APDC in the best way to protect, Town Hall and the Ritter, two buildings that are, signature pieces of Lunenburg's architectural identity and identity overall. So that's my thoughts on it.
One of the things that go back to your comment about a negative impact on the historic structures. The Historic Society actually identified this during the review that was done after the second iteration of drawings. And that was the size of the building. And one of the things that we really don't know based on the perspectives that were presented is exactly how the addition is going to affect the view shed. And that was one of the things that, that I've asked for, and which didn't get developed. So we kind of have a picture of a building, a new building, which is, completely overwhelming the existing buildings. And I questioned whether we really know what, based on the architectural perspectives and the drawings that were delivered to us, as to what the impact would be. And the Historical Society shared that same thoughts in their review of the project. They said in the review that went out, came back to the committee, is that the building was too big. And I think it is. And this goes back to what my number one concern is that we went from when we originally talked about adding to this Ritter complex, and we had discussions at select board meetings, and it was like, well, can you add to an existing structure? And we said, yeah, if it's done in a way that is, complementary to maintaining the historic structure. And I think that that's one of the things. I haven't discussed that as much. Mainly what I've been saying is this project, the building, the addition, is twice what we had originally identified when we started looking at having an addition added to the Ritter building. And I think that the 14,000 square feet that it represents is, it's pretty significant. I mean, I think that, and I really, and what I don't know, based on the lack of drawings, is exactly what that's gonna look like when you have a constructed building next to a historic building like the Ritter. Town hall is not effective, you know, town hall is, this discussion about whether it's an appropriate sized building for this complex is, it's really all about the Ritter, you know, the positive thing here. In fact, you know, if you were gonna do something along like a breaking things down into pieces, having town hall be first and then the Ritter building be second would probably be a great way to approach it, especially given the fact that the schools are now moving their operations to Turkey Hill. You know, while they've been a participant up until the very end, saying that, you know, there was not this move of town hall or school functions to Turkey Hill until they actually, two things happened. One was Carter Terrazini said, hey, we need to mothball big chunks of TCP, TC Passios, because the building is gobbling up lots of energy and it has lots of roof leaks. And that plus, I think, the realization that this project might not necessarily meet all the needs of the school, they've now made a decision. They're going to move their superintendent and their ACE program to Turkey Hill. You know, so once again, it's this question of, is this project too big for, you know, for what the town actually needs? But I hear you. I think that the one thing that, you know, if I would add as from an architectural preservation district perspective, Nathan, is I really don't know what it's going to look like, you know, because of the way the perspectives were shared. And I think that the scope and the size of the addition is twice what we had originally thought it was going to be.
Well, yeah, I think we know a couple things. We know from the perspectives that were shared that it's not gonna change the view lines from anywhere except School Street, where no one currently goes. And, you know, maybe coming up towards from Fitchburg on Mass Ave, it might affect those view lines, which certainly weren't great when the fire department was there, you know, a few years, you know, whatever it was, 10 years ago. Anyways, the fire building, anyways, not the old fire department building. So I don't know. And as far as the space goes, I mean, I hear you. However, I hear that you were saying you think it is too much space. It's not as much needed. I would think if it was that glaringly obvious, the committee would share your view there and would be looking at reducing the amount of space that was needed. And, you know, that's, I haven't heard that. So.
That's true.
What?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, it would be nice. I mean, the tools they have for rendering these things these days are great, and it would be great to be able to see it in advance. But given the placement, which is, I understand it, is between, I don't know, what is that, the west side
Yeah.
of the Ritter,
Right.
and you know, down that way. I think the main vistas for the Ritter are really coming up Main Street, I guess, to the going south, coming up Lancaster or Leominster, going north, and then, you know, going west on 2A. So I think it's good that you're thinking through these angles, but I'm not reaching a conclusion that alarm bells are not going off for me here.
The one other thing that I would mention is the way the building is configured. And this is, and I don't understand why others haven't seen this, because it's on the drawings, is that the addition is going to create a lot of water and a lot of snow drifts that could conceivably impact the Ritter building because of the way the configuration is. And I would recommend it, if you haven't looked at the drawings, look at the site plans, you'll see what I'm talking about. We've got probably in like a little capture area between the new addition and the existing structure. Because of the way the addition is, placed against the existing building. So that's a maintenance issue that could eventually come back and impact the river.
Well, they did have an issue like that with, I mean, I think, that's a good thing to note. I hope the architects address, this is a conceptual design that we're looking at right now. Is that right?
Well, it is and it isn't. I think that you couldn't change the issue with regards to how the roof lines are and what the potential impact would be without turning the building and or repositioning the building. And I don't think that once you start making those kinds of moves, then you're in no man's land in terms of what is the real estimated cost.
So has the committee discussed this?
No, in spite of the fact that I brought it up, it's been ignored. Now, I can tell you, based on conversations I've had with staff, that they're not in favor of the project, and why we didn't engage them sooner is beyond me. Okay, so I hear you,
Yeah,
Nathan.
well,
What
Yeah,
you're saying
as
is,
far as, I would hope that they could address, that there would be ways to address that even post-conceptual design. It's not an irrelevant concern. In fact, we have an example in town, which was when they built the middle high school. The first year, the snow slid down the roofs and wiped out the mechanical equipment in between. So those are important things to pay attention to. They were able to mitigate that by putting in, I don't know, speed bumps for the snow or something like that. But so somebody's got to look at those things. It's good that you're raising them. I hope they do look at them, but I don't know that again, for me, that doesn't torpedo the whole process. I mean, there's a lot that goes into the engineering of the building, and the details matter. But I would think that's something they should be able to sort out.
Richard,
Nothing to add.
okay. All right, so I will make sure that if I continue to oppose the project, that I'm doing it as a private individual, not as a member of the APD. One of the things that we are going to discuss, in fact, I've been contemplating not participating in future Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee meetings because of my opposition to the project. I don't want to be on the committee and not be in favor of what we're discussing. But one of the things that's on the agenda for next Wednesday's meeting is the Brooks House. So I will stick with the process to make sure that we get something of value to look at for the Brooks House. I'm not hopeful because we're running out of time. One of the things that I was thinking of is that maybe instead of, I thought it was incredible that given the work that the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee has, that they would take on the Brooks House. That was the chair's decision. That was not the committee's decision. But one of the things that I was thinking of is that it really would have been, I think, a great project for the Economic Development Committee to take on. If the staff wasn't going to do the legwork as Carter had originally planned, based on what happened at town meeting in November, that's what his plan was, is that he was going to have Chris Riley and his staff work on the options. And then a decision was made that it would go to the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee, which I think was a mistake, and I think Carter does too. But Carter's no longer here. He's ridden off into the sunset. But I was thinking maybe the Economic Development Committee could have taken that on, and because this is all about economic development and saving a historic structure.
Oh, they could also take it on after. I mean, this is a pretty technical measure. Ultimately, they just need to carve out a parcel.
Yeah.
For the. And so, I think it's a good idea that they help promote the sale of it and whatnot, but I don't ensure their input would be valuable in terms of making sure that whatever parcel is cut isn't deleterious to potential business uses. So that's good, but they can also chime in and, there's a public hearing or something about it. If you would like, I'm happy, I'm looking at my calendar for next Wednesday. If you share that information, I'd be happy to go represent for that.
You can join us as a member of the public.
Okay, yeah, what, can you,
Yeah, you go to the agenda center. And
Okay,
you'll
gotcha.
find an agenda in the link, because they were just posted today. All right, the opengov.com issues. I met again with Logan O'Connell and told him, based on our conversations in January, to proceed with loading the determination of applicability form up on opengov.com. And then last week, he and I reviewed the certificate of applicability. And, it's, once again, it's pretty easy, once you make the initial registration, and just about, I think Brian Gingrich and Logan have taken on as a calling to make sure that everybody who has paper forms that have to get submitted and reviewed in multiple different ways, planning, conservation, the building commissioner, he wants to get that stuff all on opengov.com. So they're going to, Logan is going to go ahead and prepare the form, the certificate of applicability, also on opengov.com. Now, I checked today just before I came to the meeting to see if that's happened yet, and it has not. If you go on the Conservation Commission's website, you'll see on their webpage, you'll see a big red band at the top. It says to complete forms for Conservation Commission review online, click here, and that takes you to opengov.com. So I'm assuming that we'll have the same kind of thing on ours. And I think that the part that I really like best is that once someone does that, it's now visible to multiple departments within the town of Lunenburg, and it will be archived by the system. And while there will still be a paper copy and carried to Kathy Herrick, they're going to get their version of it too online. So while she's asked for a paper copy, she'll also be able to access the digital version. So I think it's the way to go. We haven't had any DOAs or any projects to review, and I'm hoping that we'll get a simple one first so that we can kind of try this out. And when we do get something, I'm hoping that it will be up and running and that they'll be able to click on that red band at the top and start this process, and we'll see how it works. I think that eventually, I don't believe we need to change the design guidelines yet, but I think eventually we will want to do that just to make sure that they reflect the current way. We will still have a paper form that can be accessible in case someone doesn't want to use the online format. So the last thing that under current business, any other questions about opengov.com? Okay, last thing under the Historical Commission, our merger. Somehow, some way, this language of how to merge the two has gotten lost in the shuffle, and I'm not sure what's going on. I did get with Kathy Herrick, and she did have evidence that the original bylaw was approved by the Attorney General.
Yeah,
But there was a little glitch in that the language that was approved at the 2015 town meeting was not the same language that the bylaw was using. They had left out demolition by neglect. So Kathy had to resubmit the language, and in I think October of 2019, the Attorney General once again said, okay, we now have the right language and we still approve this. Now, Carter, just before he left, had drafted the first piece was to figure out a way to merge the Historic Commission and the APDC. And his approach was to get rid of the APDC, but to have something called the APD Oversight Commission as a function of the Historic Commission. So the Historic Commission stays the same, we keep a historic commission. But within the historic commission, it will now have responsibilities to carry on called the APDOC, the Architectural Preservation District Oversight Commission. And then everything else in the bylaw remains the same. Doesn't extend it beyond the current Architectural Preservation District bylaw. Now, the part that got lost in the shuffle, he sent that to Adam Costa, and Adam Costa never responded. I sent a note to Adam Costa last week saying, hey, what's going on? Oh, and oh, by the way, here's the documentation from Kathy Herrick saying that the Attorney General's office did review the bylaw, not once, but twice, in 2015 and then again in 2019. And he didn't respond. And then yesterday, actually Friday, I got an email from the new town manager's office with sent out by Ann Aubrey. It says, hey, we got to make sure that we have all the warrants that are going to be approved by the select board. And if you have something that's still out there, you need to make sure that we know what it is. So I sent a note to Ann Aubrey and saying, hey, the previous town manager has asked Adam Costa for information about this bylaw for his review. And I haven't seen any response. And oh, by the way, I have too. I have asked Adam for a response. Eventually, I didn't send that I just sent that back to Ann because I know that new town managers up their eyeballs and trying to catch up on things. And the reason why this is critical is because the select board has already said, town, department, commission, board, all their warrant requests had to be in by the end of January. Now this one was started, but didn't get finished, or it's gonna have to go as a citizen petition. So, with that little piece, it was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this as a citizen petition. I want to do this as a regular warrant, produced within the structure of department, commission, board, select board review, select board approval for this to go forward. So, yesterday, I sent another note. This time I sent it back I didn't hear anything from Ann Aubrey. So Monday night, I sent a note back to her and the town manager that said, hey, call me, we've got to get this resolved. I want to know what's going on with the review by town council. So yesterday, Jennifer called me and she said, it's in, we're going to treat this as a regular warrant. It's not going to be a citizen petition. I've asked Adam Costa to get back in touch with me. Now, today, as of this afternoon, Adam Costa still hasn't replied. In fact, I think that if he doesn't reply today, I'm going to call Adam Costa's office tomorrow and say, hey, is Adam Costa, is he sick? Is he not working? What's going on? Because when I met with Kathy Herrick last week to have her pull the files on this project, when I said, well, I've asked Adam, I asked Adam, about this. And she goes, if you get him to reply to you, please let me know. She says, because I've sent him voting information and he hasn't replied to me either.
Must be wrong.
There's something going on, right? Yeah. Now the good news is I think that we're going to get this resolved. I've sent the marked up language to the three of you. I think that it's kind of it's not the approach that I would have taken, but I'm going to give Carter the benefit of his expertise because he drafted this. This is Carter's words, and he's been a pretty savvy town manager from my perspective. And I think that he just wants to make sure that, it stands legal review. And if it happens, we do get the legal review, I think we can live with it. Now, the one thing that happens initially, if you look at the language, is we, the members of the APD, become alternates until such time that people move around, or, terms up, terms down. But eventually, we'll initially become part of the, like, I will be, not you, Richard, because you're already part of the historic
Mhm.
commission, but Nathan and William, we will become alternates on the historic commission, and then eventually, you know, if we want to continue, and there will be vacancies, that there will, in fact, there is, I think, vacancies
Sure.
already. Yeah, so two of the three of us will already, you know, become members of the historic commission. And I think that, that's a decent approach to how to do this. So the historic commission stays in place. The Architectural Preservation District Commission disappears, but a new entity, new duties of an Architectural Preservation District Oversight Commission will come into existence. Now, that takes care of the creation of a combined organization. And only 5 members need to be recruited, not 5 + 5 or 10. I think you have 10 on a historic commission right now.
Five,
Yeah.
three, we've got
Yeah,
three.
you have 3 members, you have 5
total,
positions,
yeah.
yeah. So we'll go from 10 to 5,
Mm,
you know, which I think will give us much better opportunities to have a full table,
Sure.
so.
Just
Uh,
a question for the notes. So
yeah.
I get it right.
Yeah.
So the new thing would be called the Architectural Preservation District Oversight Commission?
Yeah, or committee,
Committee.
yeah, I think that's the language, committee. The historic commission will act as the Architectural Preservation District Oversight Committee.
I just want to make sure I have it.
Yeah, okay, so. I think that's what the warrant's going to affect, you know, we might have a few tweaks and changes based on legal review, but I think that that's what the warrant, and I think that will get support from the town. Now, what it doesn't do is, it doesn't change the historic commission to have the authority that we currently have under the Architectural Preservation District Commission beyond the Architectural Preservation District. And both Carter as well as Tom Alonso, now Tom's no longer gonna be, you know, he's chosen to, this will be his last term. But Carter in particular said, I think that's gonna be a big, hard sell to extend the authority of the Architectural Preservation District townwide. He says, let's just get you guys merged first, and I agree with that, you know, so we will have to, once we get the merger done, then we will have to pick up the challenge of trying to change the Architectural Preservation District bylaw, you know, or change the Historic Commission's authority to allow it to apply, like demolition, not just demolition delay, but to say demolition by neglect is disapproved, you know, those types of things. You know, take the authority that we currently have for the bylaw townwide. Now, I think that's a little differently, I think, Nathan, than what we thought was gonna happen, you know, but I think that given how town government is, I think that, doing one thing at a time probably is better rather than not. But if we wanna do more, then I think we would end up having to take it up as a citizen petition. And I don't wanna do that. So your thoughts, William, got any ideas? Go for a merger and then tweak it later, right?
Yeah.
That's the summary, so, Nathan?
I'm fine with the one step at a time. I didn't prepare the extending the district thing yet to, not the whole town, but to just larger
Right.
boundaries than what it is. There's a chance I could get that done before the citizen petition deadline, but at any rate, I'm not against, doing them piecemeal, and maybe that, if that goes to town meeting, there can be something to reconcile it with, or some instruction to reconcile it with this. I mean, it's this reconciling a simple map expansion. I don't know if it would have, it shouldn't be particularly difficult. I haven't studied this, but I guess based on the way this is, what is this? This is the,
You look at the marked up sheet, Carter.
So how does this, just help me understand this, the APDC. Delegated, effective, whatever. Okay, so basically it refers to the existing bylaw.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So So really, I mean, I'm fine with submitting this piecemeal and that piecemeal, I think it's better. One, I think they are kind of separate in a way, like someone might be like, I like this, that seems efficient.
Yeah.
I don't like expanding the district, or they might be like, I do like expanding the district, or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Similarly to, there might be, I mean, I think the bigger tie-in would be with, you know, expanding the district and updating either the guidelines or the bylaw. But long story short, that can all happen within the APD bylaw itself, the map for the district. Any bylaws requirements that affect what the guidelines are, and then the
Yeah.
guidelines themselves can be changed. There's a whole separate process for that, so. I'm fine. I think I just want to understand, so what this is a change to architectural preservation, chapter 113,
Yeah.
APD.
Yeah, that's our bylaw.
Oh, this is our and this is just, so these are just parts of the bylaw, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, powers and duties. Oh, I see, this is the whole bylaw, okay,
So the only thing that changes
yeah,
is the creation of the commission is now replaced by the creation of the Architectural Preservation District Oversight Committee.
yeah.
And that's something that's now managed by the Historic Commission.
And is question, I'm assuming the historical commission. So can this be changed here without updating? Is there any bylaw for the historical commission
No.
itself? No, okay, it's all state law
Yeah.
stuff, okay. Yeah, if the lawyer says it's good, I mean, it seems like a pretty elegant way to change it. I guess, so historical committee members are appointed, is that correct?
Just like we are,
Was that?
just like
Yeah,
we are.
Just like we are, okay. And with regarding the requirements, and they're not hard requirements, okay, yeah, I see they're getting crossed out in terms of the extent achievable, the APDC could be comprised of the following. Okay, which has been pretty tricky to do. I mean, this isn't like a red line for me, it might be worth capturing. It would seem possible, without it, to sort of just, rather than cross that out completely. In terms of, I don't know if there's any, if it would create legal problems, just to create some aspirational language around the desirability of, I think there's something useful in the statement about the desirability of having certain experiences on the,
I think once everything's merged, then that whole, under the committee, that whole, anything in there can be revisited.
Do you have
Right,
any
Because
requirements?
it's gonna be under the historical commission, so the APD committee can redo any of that.
redo any of what,
What you're saying, that should,
I don't think, I mean, it would require, you have to go back to town meeting, because this
you
is still a.
can, you can say, yeah, but. you
But
can-
do you have any requirements, the Historic Commission?
No. No. That was put in because of the, well, that's what we decided to do, right? With the planning board, they wanted, people within the, district and without, plus, people with expertise in trade and.
I thought that remained, Nathan. I'll have to go back and look at that again.
It's in, yeah, it got crossed out, and it just like this, you know, I think you could even leave it in verbatim, because it says to the extent achievable, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't do.
if,
It's, you know, it's just this section.
Right.
Yeah.
I will, because I thought he actually kept some of that. So I'll go back and look at it again, and then when we get Adam's comments, we'll make sure that they, you know, like that we have that constituency kept intact, because I don't want to go change the bylaw, you know, the next time meeting just to add that in.
No,
That,
and I
that should be
think as
kept.
long as there's no legal repercussions,
Yeah,
like
I don't
all it
think-
does is it records the intent.
Yeah,
And
you
then,
you
know,
want
there's-
somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right, exactly, so when they're recruiting people for the historical committee, they
Right.
can reflect on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll,
It's never been achieved though since,
yeah,
It's never been 100% achieved, right, but,
and not even close for the most part. We usually, the first commission that we had, 3 of the people were in the district. I was the only one outside the district and had a trade.
let's see, well, right now, we've got a member of the Lunenburg Historical Commission. We don't, I think, have a design professor. I don't think my previous career in software design is gonna count for that. A crafts person
I
or,
cover the design,
you do,
yeah, I was brought up as an AutoCAD designer
Yeah.
and
let's go. All right, so so we're 2 for 2 then. A crafts person or building contractor familiar with historical restoration.
Yeah, 2 and 1.
So we're 3 for 3. You're,
They're supposed to be separate though. I'm not supposed to be a historical and
the general.
I don't,
Historical
you know, I think they don't have to be separate. You think we can get a 2 for here. One resident of the APD and 1 at large, so I'm in the APD.
I'm at large, so you get 3 and 1 here.
Technically, if I stick my foot out my front door. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be-
Think if you-
I'm thinking, yeah, but you're not technically.
It's not, it goes right across the front of my property.
Yeah, well, okay, so I actually, in this, I think it's useful, like, yeah,
Yeah, it was hard. The select board held up the start of the commission for 6 months, even though we had enough people to man it because it didn't fulfill that criteria.
yeah, well, I don't think,
And
they
then
shouldn't.
when they
I mean, it's just
couldn't find
because-
okay, so we'll make sure that those attributes. remain.
Okay.
Mm.
And I think that, I don't believe that Carter was planning on removing those. I'll go back and look again, so there were a couple marked up versions, by the way. So we'll make sure that those stay in there. And I'll keep you posted as to what I hear back from Adam Costello. I'm really surprised that we haven't heard from him, so. Okay, so old business, I've already told you that the town hall, one chimney's done. In fact, they've asked Richard to kind of take a look at it. Before they tear the scaffolding down and go to the other chimney. We've talked a little bit about the Brooks House. This project here, the Ritter, nothing's happening here until the weather changes. That's the latest. And that makes sense, given the work that they have to do. Brooks House, we'll talk about that on the 19th of February. The status of 763 Mass Avenue, anybody know anything happening there?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. Anything on 50 Main Street, you heard anything from them? You know, this is not the time of the year to do any work down there, like needs to be done, but have you had any indication from them that they're thinking about repairing?
Yeah,
it?
I need to, it's on my plate to talk to the security, the other gentleman there, whose name I have in my notes.
Okay, and then, the APD property owner notification in, our brochure, where we had said at our last meeting, we're not gonna do anything with that till we get this bylaw approved for merging the Historic Commission, Architecture Preservation District Commission. Anything else that needs to come before us, Richard?
Historical commission update, the phase 1 of the town survey for the Kilburn houses has been completed. We have a meeting on that with Mass Historical Commission and the hired consultant that's doing the work next week.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he's really smart. I took 3-4 hours and drove him around all the streets and as many streets in town as we could fit in the day. Looking at all the old houses, so he was oriented to where he had to go when he started. And we went to the Historical Society and met with people there to go over resources available to him. They actually have the Cyrus Kilburn was an engineer surveyor, and they actually have the his folder with all the information and everything. He was, he was a professional, so he has a professional folder on all of that work.
When was that done?
18 33,
Wow.
something like that.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, so that was a treasure trove that he found for his research. He said he never saw anything. Had been that lucky on any other projects to have something like that, so,
Oh, well.
yeah,
Anything else?
that's it.
Still in just us online here. My last comment, I had a chance to go tour the TC Passios building. This town has a hard time gripping with creating new buildings and managing excess square footage of buildings that it abandons. I was just stunned to see how much space there was in there that's not being used.
Mm.
And, you know, it's when I look at how much energy is being wasted in that building, it's like, my God, it took an interim town manager to say, turn the heat off in these places that you're not using. And, you know, I went into the boiler rooms with Chris Ruth, and, got some pretty big boilers in there.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons why we have pretty big boilers in there is because at one point in time, that boiler room was providing the heat for
high
the
school.
old high school.
His pipe runs on.
Yeah, there's these two gigantic, what look like were probably 10-inch
Mhm.
hot water out and probably cold water back, returns. And, went out under the ground into the old high school. So we had all of this infrastructure in that boiler room, and it's still there. It's like, oh my God, what were we thinking of? To let all of this stuff, be burning up gobs and gobs of energy. And why the town didn't do something sooner. I think that, the other thing that I saw was the gymnasium, and there's a core over there that clearly has value to this town because of how it's being used. There's the Lions Food Pantry, and that looks like a little shopping center or a little grocery store. I mean, it's very nicely presented. They got brand new freezers in there that were probably bought within the last 2 years. You can just tell from, the type of control equipment that's on these freezers. And then there's all the refrigeration equipment from the old cafeteria, which the town is paying for. I think that, it's good for the town to have a place like that. It's good that the Lions are willing to manage that, as volunteers. But there's a huge investment being made by the town in keeping those coolers running and that space heated, so on and so forth. Of course, the Boys and Girls Club, as well as the seniors, use the gymnasium. And, I think that's also very high valuable usage for the town. But, there's a ton of space in there that should have been demolished a long time ago. And why it wasn't is beyond me. So, and I think that one of the problems that we have with projects like the Ritter the addition is that people look at what we have, and then they look at, we're gonna add new square footage, and they go, why are you adding new square footage when you have all this old square footage? Now, there's lots of good reasons why that square footage at TC Passios should go away. It's not the right kind of space, it's not where it needs to be, it's not next to, our historic buildings. So I was like shocked and amazed. In fact, one of the things that, if we have another round at Lunenburg Municipal Buildings after May, the first thing that the committee needs to do, and we didn't do this, the first thing that the committee members would need to do is go look at all the town space. Everything out there, every single square foot that the town has, to make sure that we're not gonna create something that's already created and could be used. But that was it was an eye-opening experience. I really, really, really enjoyed seeing the building.
I think the biggest thing that thing's used for is before and after care program in the schools. I know, we used it when we first moved here, and
Yeah.
that's a big component of that.
Yeah.
That's families that are there the entire school year before and after. And I know the Lunenburg youth soccer uses the gym as well,
Mhm.
after hours for indoor soccer during the winter. So
They use the gym, right?
that gym,
Yeah, see, I think that, you know,
I think so many people use it and never see each other because everything deconflicts in that building.
yeah,
Like the people that are picking up the kids from school aren't there at 6 o'clock when the soccer kids show up. So I think the building gets a lot of use that just not a lot of people see because it's all compartmentalized.
it gets a lot of use in certain parts, and those
Yeah.
parts should be safe. I mean, I think the gym and the cafeteria and places like that, I think they have huge value to the
Mhm.
town. And, you know, like, the extended daycare program, that's something that, you know, town citizens, you know, really like and need to have. It just needs to be managed in a way that, you know, we're not keeping thousands of square foot of space unused because we're keeping a part of it active, you know? We need, you know, you need to kind of have a plan for the whole building. So, you know, the entryway, like the lobby and I mean, the entryway is pretty nice, you know, it's not bad at all. I mean, there's parts in there, like, when I looked at like, one of the things that I found is fascinating were the, water fountains, you know, the architectural work that went into those water fountains was pretty damn classy.
Yeah. Well, the architect.
Yeah, so it's just really sad that, you know, we have these buildings and the other thing that's so obvious from talking with Chris is that the town has nowhere near the number of maintenance people needed to manage the real estate it has.
Mm.
And that's really, really bad. So, okay, all right, those are my 2 cents worth. I just, like I said, I was just like staggered to see how much square footage there was done or something.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep, and our next meeting will be the 13th of March. All those in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye. Okay.